So this video picks up where the last video left off and is an extension of the explanation and study of Theravada Buddhism, which, if you remember, is the more conservative branch of Buddhism, the southern Buddhist tradition of following the Buddhist teachings as closely as possible and really looking at the monk as the central part of the transmission of this knowledge. So the importance of the Sangha, the importance of the community of monks, is critical to this way of practicing Buddhism. So because the importance of the monk is so central, the monks are not only just set apart, you can also join the Sangha for a period of time. People will go and become a monk for a few months, maybe a year, at transition points in their life. And more as these societies become less male dominated, more women begin to do this as well. So the Sangha is critical to the way in which Buddhism is transmitted within those societies. So the monks will teach not only each other, the older monks will teach the younger monks, and the younger monks frequently will be out teaching in public. So if you go to a temple, you will have not just the worship of and the prayers, you'll also have people teaching the Dharma in the temples and also in the streets. So this is much more about bringing the Buddhist message and teachings into daily life and the importance of full commitment to those principles. The core of the Dharma are embodied in that monk, and that's why the monks are given this kind of central role in the Theravadan communities. Certainly see that in Sri Lanka and places like Thailand. So the other thing that Theravada Buddhism, as I mentioned in the last video, is known for is an absence of ritual. There's not as much of the over-the-top rituals that you see in Theravada Buddhism. You don't see as much of the ornate Buddhas in temples that you see in Mahayana Buddhism. There's one exception to this, though, and that one exception is when you get to Vesak. Now, Vesak is an over-the-top celebration, which basically the Theravadan Buddhists took all of the most important parts of the Buddha's life, his birth, his enlightenment, and his death. They put it all into one ceremony, and they basically said, look, we're not going to be all that ceremonially, but when we do it, we're going to go over the top. So the Vesak tradition, as you can see here, the temples are all lit up in various hues of white, yellow, orange, and red, which are the colors of Buddhism. The color of the robes, the white and the yellow, symbolizes enlightenment. And you'll see on the water, most Buddhist temples have reflecting lakes or moats or water, which is sort of usually symbolic of the mind or of the human psychology. And you have these lamps that are floated out onto these lakes, in this case in the red lotus, these paper lamps. And when I saw this in Colombo, one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, hundreds of thousands of coconut wicked lamps in these coconut shells that were floating on these open lakes with the temples in the background all illuminated, and then the statues of the Buddhas, which were in stone, again, kind of with lights and all kinds of things on them. And you have to imagine this with the smell of the coconut oil and the chanting going on as well. It's really a sensory overload. It's quite something. So what you notice in Vesak is it starts early in the morning, and you'll notice that the pilgrims, many people walk long distances to usually the larger temples. This is usually done not in the smaller temples, but in the more regionally important ones. So you go to the big temple, and you will be one of thousands and thousands of people all dressed in white, a little bit like the Hajj. This idea of dressing in white as a sign of purity, and this happens in the full moon in May. So it's already a short night, and you get up early and you begin to listen to the singing. And there is a chant that the Theravadan Buddhists sing, and it is usually sung by the monks, and then there's a response by the followers. I'm going to play a little bit for you, and as you listen to it, you'll hear the repetition over and over again of Buddhang saranang gacchami, I take refuge in the Buddha. Dhammang saranang gacchami, I take refuge in the Dharma, or the teachings of the Buddha. That's the Eightfold Path, the Four Noble Truths. Sanghang saranang gacchami, I take refuge in the Sangha, I take refuge in the community of monks, I take refuge in those who've devoted themselves to this teaching. So it is an acknowledgement of the community. So imagine this is being sung by the monks as you are coming into the temple, as you are going through your day and into the night, all day and night long. You'll notice in this recording, which is a little bit more modern, it has that kind of Indian drone undertone to it. So there's that Om concept. You can see it still and hear it's still based in a kind of a Hindu musical idiom. So here it is. I know that the frame is a little bit off here. I'll try to get it for you in a second when I play it.
Buddham saranam gacchami,
I take refuge in the Buddha.
saranam gacchami, dhammam saranam gacchami,
I take refuge in the Dharma.
saranam gacchami, sangham saranam gacchami,
I take refuge in the Sangha.
saranam gacchami.
Okay. We're not going to be listening to that for 8 hours straight because enough is enough. But the point is that if you are at a Vesak ritual, you will hear this over and over again. And it's part of this idea of just repeating the importance. It goes back to the very basic ideas of Theravada Buddhism. It's all about the Buddha. It's all about the teachings. It's all about the Sangha. So I think it really, the song emphasizes what it is all about. So I've gone through most of these already, but the other piece that is worth mentioning here, or two pieces, one of them is the release of caged birds and animals, which is incredible because I didn't see the animals, but I saw the birds, and this is pigeons and doves and thousands of them. And so you have to imagine them being released into the air as this chanting is going on, and also all these lights are being illuminated. It's just quite amazing. But this idea of liberation and freedom at being at the core of the tradition. The last thing is the giving of money, which is part of supporting Buddhist charities, which are obviously central to many religious traditions. So to finish up, the Theravada traditions really do not rely much, other than Vesak, on much ornamental or symbolic complexity. They're really coming down to trying to get to the most simple aspects of what Buddhism is. So this is a great example. This is from a temple. I believe it's in Thailand. And you can see here, it's very simple. It really is simply the Dharma wheel that you can see, the 8-spoked wheel. And there they are, the Eightfold Path embodied. The deer there represent Benares and the place of the Buddha's enlightenment. But other than that, it's very, very simple. They don't want to move beyond the teachings. They don't want to do anything to bring attention to anything beyond the examples of the Buddha. So this idea of simplicity, this idea of not getting lost in the rituals and not getting lost in things that would take you away from the fundamental mindfulness, that is the core of Theravada Buddhism. And so when we get to Hinayana Buddhism, you'll see there's going to be a big difference in terms of how those two traditions are laid out. So hopefully that gives you a little bit better idea of what Theravada Buddhism is.